done for. Everyone get out.
Ahoy, sailors! Yeah, there we go. There's the greeting I should have had at the start of the last video. I didn't even think of it, but anyway. I'm actually going to specifically take a look at aircraft carriers today, although I will have a quick run through of what the various ship classes do, because I don't know if I really got it across in the last video, but there's quite a lot of difference between the play styles of the various classes, maybe even more so than World of Tanks. So to start off with, you have cruisers, and cruisers are what you actually do start off with. You'd think it would be destroyers, but so far, for both the Japanese and the US line, you actually have a cruiser. And cruisers are kind of a jack of all trades. There's nothing that they do especially well, except perhaps anti-air support. That's maybe their speciality. There's also, you know, they have a decent firepower, they have okay-ish armour, some of them are fairly speedy. They're kind of all-rounders. They don't do any one thing particularly well, but they're sort of competent in most situations. You have destroyers, which are very small, very lightly armoured. They don't have terribly good guns, but they tend to go a lot heavier on torpedo armament. And because they're so fast, and because torpedoes are so dangerous, that can make them a very formidable opponent indeed. They can also lay down smoke screens as their special ability, and as I mentioned, that will hide not only themselves, but also their allies. Then we have battleships, and at the moment it's just Japanese battleships in the game. The first one that you get at tier 3, it's not very good. Then you get to tier 4, the Myogi, how do you say that? It's a lot better. In fact, it's more of a battle cruiser than a battleship, and I will say Wargaming have kind of lumped in battleships and battle cruisers together. Now the difference between them is that they both have very big guns, but battle cruisers trade their armour for speed, whereas battleships have a lot more armour, but they're a lot slower because of it. So this is quite a fast machine. It basically is a battle cruiser. It's got pretty beefy guns, and it's a big step up from the previous, the tier 3, the Kawachi, which has terrible range on its guns. It actually has worse range than some of the comparable cruisers. And it also has a very low speed, so you don't want to stick around the tier 3. It's not much fun, but this is pretty good. I'm told the Congo at tier 5 is very good as well, so I'm working my way up that line also. And then, of course, we come to aircraft carriers, and the inevitable comparison has been made with artillery, but it's not really exact. There are some similarities. I mean, for the most part, you're sitting at the back of the map, and you don't actually have any offensive capability on the ship. Your offensive capability is all tied to your planes that you carry. Now, well, actually, before I jump into a battle, I will show you the modules, and I'll show you exactly how you determine what the makeup of your planes are. The way they've done it is to have your loadout determined by your upgrade path. So your default upgrade path for this one, the Langley, is 1 squadron of each. Once you upgrade, you can then get access to improved flight control. They're calling it flight control, which lets you then choose either, on this particular vessel, I can have 2 squadrons of fighters and 1 squadron of torpedo bombers, which is what I'm currently using, or, which I have unlocked, I can have 1 squadron of fighters and 2 squadrons of torpedo bombers. Now, there's a lot more, there's a less, how do I put this? There's less actual, I want to say there's less skill but more tactics, if that makes any sense, involved in aircraft carriers, because the loadout that you pick determines greatly how you're going to be, what you're going to be doing actually in the arena, on the battlefield, because fighters obviously are very good at helping your team. You can shoot down enemy planes, including enemy torpedo bombers and bombers, because there are also, I think they're dive bombers, or they're meant to be dive bombers, as well as torpedo bombers, but you don't get those until tier 5. But by obviously knocking enemy planes out the sky, you can be a great asset to the team, but of course you're sacrificing your offensive capability, which are the torpedo bombers. But I think the torpedo bombers, they need a little bit of balancing, and I think maybe one of the ways they could balance it is by letting you fine-tune the loadouts a bit more, but having penalties for going very heavy on lots of torpedo bombers, because with the higher rank carriers, it's possible to really start spamming torpedo bombers around the place. And if you're just ganging up on one ship with all of your torpedo bombers, well, being on the receiving end of that is incredibly frustrating. So I think there needs to be penalties for somebody that decides they're going to go full torpedo bomber. Like, it should be possible, but there should be a hefty penalty for doing it. Whereas I think there should be a good reward for being more of a team player. I mean, obviously damaging enemy ships is helping your team, but if you're preventing your own ships from being damaged by enemy torpedo bombers, I think that should be very highly rewarded. And I feel like it kind of is at the moment, but it needs to be more obvious that it is being rewarded, because my best game in this so far has been this matchmaking, no? Well, we do have more Congos, I suppose. In the Langley, I shot down 32 enemy planes. I also did, I think, about 20k torpedo damage. I don't think I had any kills, but between that and the 32 enemy aircraft downed, I got nearly 100,000 credits on a defeat. It was like 92,000 credits and the highest score on the team. So it is actually worth shooting down enemy planes, just in terms of how much money you can make and how much XP you can make. So if that was made more obvious, maybe the incentive would be to take fighters. But the thing is, though, if you end up in a situation where you are the only aircraft carrier and the enemy team has got lots of battleships, for instance, and you've only got one squadron of torpedo bombers, then your fighters aren't going to have that much to do. So you start off with, I mean, it looks a little bit different immediately. So the #1 hotkey is the ship view, and I can still set waypoints with the map, so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're just going to loaf around the back of the map and hope that nothing disastrous happens. I did read the guide, and it said, you know, don't just go to the back of the map. Try and stay reasonably close to your team so your planes can get airborne fairly quickly. And I tried that a couple of times, and invariably I just got spotted and died very, very quickly. So I feel like that's not really worthwhile advice at all. So we're going to launch the fighters. As you see, you just use the hotkeys. In fact, you can even just use the mouse. We're just going to get everything launched. So I've got 2 squadrons of fighters, 1 squadron of torpedo bombers, and I can change control by using the hotkeys, or obviously clicking. And if I mouse out, as you can see, I can select these and I can tell them where to go. Now, by default, they will form a combat air patrol. They'll just circle your carrier. You can actually do that with friendly aircraft, friendly ships rather. So I can assign my fighters to guard a friendly ship. In fact, what I can do is I can send my fighters over here for now. Now, if you don't do that, they'll just kind of, if they're not actively guarding a ship, they'll just kind of mill around, basically. You can also, you can manually, if I get control, no. Do I right click to do that? I don't know. Well, if you left click on a ship, they'll go for an auto attack thing. If you right click, they will do nothing. That reverts control to your... I'm trying to think how you do it. There's a way of manually controlling what you want your planes to do, but anyway. You can also, if I hit shift, I mean, I can get the normal ship view, so if I hit shift, there we go, I can see what my ship's doing, but I can also do that with my planes. And as you can see, in between the planes flying around the place, there's not a lot to do. So it's a little boring in that regard. So I think what we'll do is I will get my enemy aircraft. And I'm very used to playing games where you right-click to issue orders, so I am still not quite there yet. Also, I think I've accidentally cancelled my thingy path, which I didn't mean to do, so I'm getting dangerously close to getting spotted there. Which is not good, because the enemy carriers will just send stuff after me. So let's see what these torpedo bombers are doing. Now, I think there's a way of doing it manually. No, I don't know. I don't know. See, now I've just manually selected my ship again. So I don't want to do that. So there's a lot of flicking back and forth between screens and just seeing what your planes are doing. You do have to be aware that, of course, enemy ships have also anti-aircraft armaments, so you have to be careful about that. So I'll actually go back into strategic view. They've dropped their torpedoes, and he got killed by something else. Well, let's see what my planes are doing. They're going after enemy torpedo bombers. Now, the way it works with your ship is you have a complement of aircraft, and as you can see here, well, you can see how many are in each wing, which is 6 aircraft, and then you have reserves. So I have 4 reserve bombers and 8 reserve fighters, and you can lose aircraft. That's what these pips represent. If you lose aircraft, you then have to... you can lose an entire squadron. But if you lose, say, half these aircraft, once they fly back even, they will replenish from your reserves. So we're shooting down that bomber, that torpedo bomber squadron, which is good. And you can actually see the icon there, how much ammo they've got left. So your fighters and your... I don't know what the 3rd squadron's doing, but they all have ammo, basically. And once they're out, they have to fly back. There's no such thing as fuel, though. Let's also see what the carrier's doing. That's fine. So I'm racking up the air kills here, and I'm helping out my team. Now, unfortunately, they did manage to get off their torpedoes. That guy looks like he might get hit by 1. But I've severely crippled whichever carrier they came from. That's really crippled them. So they're out of ammo. They're automatically coming back, and we can actually... You can also use your planes as scouts. You don't specifically have scout planes, but you can use your fighters to scout around the place, basically. So we might pull these back to a more safe distance, or even have them guard, say, that battleship for now, just so that they are doing something useful. And these guys have come back and loaded up, so we're going to launch off my torpedo bombers again. I'm going to help out again on this flank, and what looks like a likely target. We'll go for this cruiser here, which is a St. Louis. So set my torpedo bombers on course there. I swear there's a way of doing it manually, of selecting the path that you want to take, because the auto attack thing, it doesn't always drop them in a smart way. Like sometimes it drops them too close, and then you end up like they need a certain distance to arm. They don't arm immediately they're dropped out of the aircraft, so they have to hit the water and travel a certain distance, and then they arm, and otherwise they just kind of bounce harmlessly off the hull. So right, 2 we can launch, 3 still guarding that particular thing, and there's some planes over there. I mean, we actually have another carrier who in theory should be like protecting that area. So we have let's see, we'll get 2 and 3 both there, and you can click on the mini-map as well as clicking on the main map in this view. And I think what we'll do is we'll go after this squadron of fighters, and once we have done that, that means there's less fighters for me to worry about, because obviously they can shoot down my torpedo bombers and whatever. So they are currently... Well, they're still travelling to the last known area of those fighters, but we'll just set them a new target. We'll keep an eye on what they're doing. We'll also see what the ship's doing. We might actually want to change course, because I'm probably going to get spotted by this cruiser relatively soon. Although we are losing this. I mean, we don't really have any semblance of map control right now. So, well, let's go back to regular mode, and Group 3 is being attacked by enemy fighters, so we'll have them turn to engage, and we'll also have Group 2 close in on those guys. Group 4, as you can see, there's a cooldown, and there's various skills that will improve the cooldown, so the turnaround is not as bad. But we really need to get those out in the air and attack that St. Louis. Right, so I'm losing some fighters out of this group, but I feel like having 2 lots of fighters as your complement, you can really... there we go, he's destroyed. You can really mob enemy groups of fighters and bombers and whatever. So that's probably the more high value target, so we'll have them attack that. And we'll actually bring back those... Oh, no.
Returning to ship.
Group 4 I did not want to return. We can cancel that order though, that's fine. That's not like it's... yeah, remembering the hotkeys, remembering which ones are which is pretty useful. And they're getting a bit close now. Actually, maybe
the enemy is about to win.
Course to go further south. I mean, matchmaking gave the enemy team more ships, and in this map mode, that means they can control more areas more easily. So yeah, let's just have a quick look and watch these guys drop their bombs. So matchmaking kind of boinked our team, but this gives you a fairly good idea of the kind of gameplay that there is with carriers. There's a lot more about the kind of strategic view. I mean, Foch called it an RTS with other players. Yeah, see, they really did drop those in a smart way. He was easily able to evade those. I swear there's a way of doing it automatically. Doing it manually, rather. Yeah, he called it an RTS with other players, and it kind of is. And it's actually interesting that they've managed to... there we go, 15 air kills, got me nearly 50,000 credits, 500 odd XP, and that was way more air kills than anyone else. So I feel like you can specialise in air kills and do quite well out of specialising in air kills. So let's just do another one and hope that it doesn't drag on, and hope that matchmaking is a little bit kinder as well. I don't really like that map mode with the 3 cap circles and the kind of points-based system, because if matchmaking gives you, you know, if it decides to boink you like fewer ships, although we had more, you know, we had better battleships, the fact that we had fewer ships was absolutely critical. So yeah, we got a bit screwed there. Yep. Oh, well, I was just thinking I'm probably going to have to cut this bit out now, but no, that's not too bad. That was only about 45-second wait. So let's see what the team's like. Tier 5 battle again, and equal numbers. They've got more destroyers, which is something you particularly have to worry about in a carrier, because the destroyers... I think one of the goals of being a destroyer is to try and sneak through and get the enemy carriers. And obviously, if you stick near friendly ships, you're more likely to be protected, but you're also a lot more likely to be spotted and targeted by enemy carriers. So I don't feel like it's really worth the risk at the end of the day. So let's set my waypoints. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Now, I did once make the mistake of thinking that's a relatively protected looking area. And that was the first or second battle, and immediately some, like, one of the enemy carriers just went, aha, I bet I know where one of the enemy carriers is going to go. So they just sent their torpedo bombers there, and I was dead within about a minute and a half. Just from enemy torpedo bombers. So that is a valid strategy of just hunting down the enemy carriers. Because of course, if you can knock out the enemy carriers, if you've got enough torpedo bombers to do that in one fell swoop, then that gives your team a big advantage. But I don't have the capacity for doing that with only one. I'd have to get very lucky with my one squadron of torpedo bombers, and of course the fighters would have to
Maintaining present course.
no, that's not the right thing I wanted selected. I want to go there, there. You have to be very careful not to... I keep doing that, like having the wrong thing selected. So we'll get my fighters down here. And I like to keep the fighter groups together. You get less coverage, but when you do have an engagement with enemy fighters, you have that decisive air superiority. And a lot of enemy carriers like to have more groups of torpedo bombers than they do of fighters. And if you have lots of fighters, I feel like you can be more useful to the team by protecting the team. So there are different strategies within carriers, and I quite like that. Although, now that could be one of the enemy carriers is launching both those groups, or that could be, because of course the enemy team's got 2 groups of carriers as well. So I'll actually send my fighters over to intercept over here. And the torpedo bombers, I could send them after this battleship. What battleship is that? That's a Congo, so that's fairly high value, but he's got lots of ships around him, so he's going to have lots of anti-air capability. Right, so I want to get my fighters on their fighters, and if we can attack them, we can actually hit shift and you can see it kind of up close and personal. Now I have got I've got upgraded fighters. I've got a ship equipment thing that makes my fighters attack better, and also I have a crew skill. But even so, even though this is 2 versus 1, my fighter squadron is getting really spanked, and I don't know why. Actually, let's pull back 3 because they're getting... Yeah, it's a bit... I mean, there is a lot of RNG. You don't control any of this. Like, you just say, I want my guys to attack those guys. And I just lost a full group. Even though it was 2 versus 1, I just lost a full group versus that one fighter squadron. So there's a cooldown on that. I can also, you know, I can launch a full group now of... oh, hello, that's enemy torpedo bombers looking for me. Let's immediately change course. And we're going to have to launch those. And we're going to have to get them to defending me because they are hunting me down. That's not good. Right, group 2 will pull back.
Returning to ship.
Yeah, they could this is what I mean. There are some maps where, especially these carriers, the slow speed means that I'm a bit balked, potentially. So this is 3 versus 1. Their planes can just pick on my planes. They've seen me. I'm probably just going to die now. Oh, well, I'm not even going full speed. I don't know why I'm not going full speed. Right, we'll set my torpedo bombers to attack something before I die. Which, hopefully, they'll finish their last orders before... Group 2, I'll tell them to get stuck in as well. But I'm basically dead at this point. This is somebody that... It looks like they held back their squadrons of everything to basically do this. And it means I then can't protect the team. But I might actually be able to avoid most of these. And he's shot his load at this point, as it were. So, although they now know where I am, they have to go back and repair. And I've taken big hits, but I'm actually not dead, which is good for me. So, pull back group 3 while there's still one group of... I'll tell my guys to attack. Oh, they're all out of ammo anyway, so they're all having to return, which is not good. And also, apparently my torpedo bombers struck a hit, which is rather nice. So yeah, they're going to come after me again. I'm going to actually have to keep... Because that guy's targeting me, I'm going to have to keep my fighters close to try and take them out. So, yeah, that's not good. I did survive, though, which is somewhat unexpected, considering. I'm also running out of fighters at this point, so I can't now field 2 full squadrons. I'm going to have one of 6 and one of 3. I don't know that we're doing very well in this battle, to be honest. He knows where I am. I mean, there's not really much I can do to evade. No. What did I... No, I didn't mean to do that. Apparently you can left click and automatically make them take off. So I can try changing my course, but these the tier 4 carrier moves so slowly that he knows he just has to send his ships to roughly this quarter of the map, and his planes rather, and they will probably be able to spot me. So I'm actually gonna keep them guarding me for the time being, because I don't really want to be caught with my pants down again. Now it'd be nice in this mode if you could like control... Oh! I was going to say if you could control click on the map without having to go to the edges of the map, but apparently if you hold down the control you can do this. I didn't know. I did not know. Okay, there we go. So we'll get my torpedo bombers out in the air again as fast as I can. Just as soon as they're ready to go. And I should probably have... If I have my fighters... I mean, he might... If he's coming... If he's sending his planes from the same place, they're probably going to be coming from the same place. Also, I am rapidly sailing towards enemy ships, but there's just not a whole lot I can do about it. Right, so I can just click there, and they will automatically take off and fly to that target. That's quite nice. So yeah, this team is losing rather badly, it looks like. It's a pity neither of these were actually wins, but... I've actually shot down 17 planes. I've actually shot down more planes than I had in the previous battle. And the fact that I've managed to land some sort of torpedo hits as well means, even though this is going to be a loss, I might do alright out of this score-wise. I might as well drop my speed at this point. I don't want to sail towards the enemy too quickly. In fact, if I get to map mode... No. Why aren't you letting me set waypoints? There we go. Well, I was being a bit finicky and I don't know why. Right, also they're capping. Right. What I will do, in fact, is, because we've only got one battleship left, I will set my fighters to guard that battleship. And we'll see how these torpedo bombers do. I've got a couple of these in reserve still, so if I lose one or two planes against this ship... I really wish I knew how to drop them manually, because he's probably going to avoid most of those. One of them might hit him, if we're lucky. No, he's... Oh, I can't tell, but I think he's just going to... Oh, also there's a destroyer coming for me, so I'm not going to last too much longer. Destroyers, if they get you with their torpedoes, like, yeah, I see him, I'm taking fire here. Yeah. I might be able to get these guys landed and take off in the time to actually do something like this. This destroyer, but the main threat from him is torpedoes. I'm actually going to face him, because if I sit side onto him, I'm just going to get a full salvo of torpedoes to the face. And if I can ram him, well, that'd be cool, but probably not, because he's a lot faster than I am. So we're just going to try staying facing him. That gives me the best chance of... If you have the chance to... There we go, this torpedoes away. If you have the chance to, like, thread the needle with torpedoes, you really have to be facing somebody. Can't let them get your side. Oh, that's possibly going to be one hit. Yeah, that's one hit. I can repair, that's fine.
We're all below the water line. We're flooding quickly.
And he is just dancing all around me. Like, I can't keep my front to him, basically. But in another 4 seconds, I can launch my fighters. Oh, go on. Oh, whoa. Right. Strategic view, fighters. Attack the sucker. And let's just keep maneuvering. I mean, I'm gonna die here anyway, but anyway. Anyway. Oh, also, right. My fighters came back. We might as well send them off to attack there. Torpedo bombers. Right. There's not more torpedoes incoming, yes. He's dodging my torpedoes fairly easily. He's probably just going to shoot me down. But he's launching his torpedoes from a little bit too long of a range to really be effective. Oh, also I'm the last person alive. I should probably just take it like a man, huh? Right. Right, let's recall those fighters. Oh, actually, I could have my fighters engage their fighters. Why not? Seems like a sensible thing to do. I'm probably about to sink anyway, but any off chance. Oh, can I thread this needle? Probably not. That's at least one hit, maybe even two. Whoa, that was a bit close. Whoa. Turn, you magnificent bastard. Also, why did I suddenly change? Woohoo! That was a bit close. Yeah, I'm taking fire from Battleship now, though. I'm not going to last too much longer. And come on! I just want one salvo of torpedoes away. If I can do a bit more damage. Oh, I see even more torpedoes incoming. Oh! No, they're going to miss. Might as well use the repair. Oh, those torpedoes are definitely going to miss. Oh, how am I still alive? I don't know. This is a bit silly. Well, there we go. So you really can't, like, it's quite hard to, it feels like it's quite hard to swing a match if you're using this kind of setup. Like, if you have lots of torpedo bombers and you can do more damage to enemy ships, then you possibly can more easily influence the outcome of a match. But like I said, I think they need to do something about torpedo bombers. Anyway, that was 23 planes shot down, which, score-wise, you know, we can see how many credits that made me. So, I feel like if you can shoot down the enemy planes, if you can prevent the torpedo bombers from doing their work, you can help the team out, but the team still needs to do stuff themselves. And in that way, it's definitely a bit like artillery. Like, you can help only so much. The team needs to do a certain amount as well. And in this case, they really didn't do nearly enough. There was, what, 2, 3, 4, 5 enemy ships knocked out. So, not nearly enough in the end there. So, yeah, I feel like there's a potential for carriers to be very annoying, and a potential for them, if Wargaming handles it wrong, to be as rage-inducing as artillery, potentially. But I think there's potential that it could be that it can add something very strategic to the gameplay of World of Warships as well. It just all depends on the balancing, and it all depends on the decisions that Wargaming makes. So we'll see. I mean, the purpose of the CBT is to look at stuff like this, and I'm really hoping that they do look at torpedo bombers in particular, because there should be penalties for just spamming torpedo bombers all over the place. There should be some kind of disincentive to do that excessively, I feel. So if you enjoyed this video, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.